Before we start today's show, we just wanted to take a moment and give a huge thank you to the podcast sponsor, StreamYard. With StreamYard, you can stream directly from your browser, create a broadcast, show comments on screen, and see all of your comments in one place. With StreamYard, you can record HD video and audio. You can even go live with pre-recorded videos. Save, rewatch, and download past broadcasts. You can invite guests to your broadcast from any device. StreamYard makes it easy to run interviews, talk shows, podcasts, and so much more. You can simply get started with your own by heading on over to StreamYard.com. Now, without further ado, brought to you by Mindful Media Productions, you are now tuned into my favorite podcast, The Archives with Adam. Here is your host and my grandson, Adam.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Archives with Adam. As always, I am your host, Adam. Now, today's guest is just a very special guest, and she's best known for her work on the Nickelodeon show Victorious. Now, please welcome today's guest, Miss Marilyn Harris Smith.
I don't know you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I was waiting for that. I was like, you know what, let me just give it a moment because I'm sure that's coming out.
Just get it out the way.
Exactly. Now in 2010, we were introduced to the show Victorious and ultimately Andre's grandma.
Yes.
I would say even everyone's favorite grandma on Nickelodeon. But before we dive into that, the show is called the Archives with Adam podcast. Now, what that means is that the show is all about highlighting your career as well as digging into your brain archives. So again, thank you so much for being on the show with me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Before we jump into Victorious, though, in your role of Victorious, I want to start with something that's really exciting for you. Again, this episode is not sponsored by Splatcon. We're not associated with them other than we're going to the convention. And it's just really exciting because this is your first ever convention. And we're just thrilled to be a part of, being there and getting to meet you. And I would say maybe this is a big milestone for you. Would you agree?
I would agree. I didn't even know what a convention was like 8 months ago. So I am like totally excited. I don't know what it involves, but I'm just open to the new experience. I'm ready to be able to finally actually meet fans of Victorious that I call grand fans of Victorious and fans of Andre's grandma. So I kind of meshed it together and I call them grand fans. So there's a lot of them out there. I had no idea. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's huge. And I was going to say, I know we're excited to meet you. And I was going to say, I'm sure your grand fans, like you said, are as well. Without going to too much into detail, because I've had a previous guest on and I've asked them the same question.
Okay.
I can't go into too much, without, any commitments with the commitments and stuff like that. But what can fans expect when they interact with you at this convention? Are there any surprise moments that you're looking forward to?
They can expect crazy. The character is crazy. So I will give them that. That's what they expect. I'm very open. I always communicate with grand fans. So any questions that they have, I'm going to be answering questions. I'm going to be crazy. I'll be signing autographs. I have a little treat that I'm going to pass out to the early fans. I only have so many of them, but I really admire people that get in line early to get something. So I'm going to have something like that. And my man, Percy, will be there with me. So they know him. He's all over our social media. We actually work together, so they'll actually get to meet both of us in the flesh. And it's going to be fun. I am so excited, very, very excited.
That was going to be one of my questions, if we were going to get to see your husband make a cameo there and hang out with you. And we've seen your YouTube videos, we've seen your TikTok, and I'm telling you, he's he's a character as well. And we've
Yeah,
enjoyed
he's an actor. He got me into it. So,
Okay.
he's not a shy person. We have a lot of fun with it. Actually, he got me into acting. One day he says to me, "You need to find you a camera with a red light and get paid for the crazy that you doing around the house." And I said, "That's a good idea."
Oh yeah, why not, right?
That's
You have
right,
a talent.
which I didn't know I had.
No, it's awesome. I mean, we've been sitting here the last couple of days just watching the videos, and I'm telling you, we have not had a good laugh in quite some time.
Do you have a favorite? Because I know I do.
Oh man, we seen the one where you and your husband were dancing in the hallway.
Uh-huh.
We seen, man, we seen so many. There's so many. I know there was one where you're yelling at, like, I think you were cooking a sandwich or something, and you were yelling.
Yeah.
I just love when you do the angry grandma. It's great.
Yeah. That's the one. The dancing is my favorite too. When Percy is
Is
dancing
it?
in the hallway. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
No, that's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. I wanted to ask, what are you hoping to experience at your first convention? Are there any guest celebrities there that have been announced that you're excited to meet? Because I know there's a lot that are getting ready to be announced, so I don't want you to spill any of that. But like so far that you're aware of, that's going to be there.
When I went into the Splatcon website and they
Mhm.
had some listed, is it okay to name one of those that are already listed?
Yeah. Yes, I don't want
John
you to get in
Hurley.
trouble or nothing.
John
Okay.
Hurley. I want to meet
Okay.
him. Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Yep.
he
From
would be
SpongeBob.
excited. Yeah, and Kel from
Yeah.
Keenan and Kel.
Yep.
I'm interested in meeting him as well. And golly, I just was looking at it, I saw her name. But those two for sure I would just like to meet. They seem like they would be like really cool and interesting people. I'm sure they're all cool
Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
sure they're all interesting, but it's I don't know what to expect actually because this is my first one, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun.
We're so new to the convention scene ourselves. We've only been to two. We have here in Seattle. We have Washington State SummerCon, as
Uh-huh.
well as the Washington State Gaming Expo, and then the week after we come back from SplatCon, they're going to have the Washington State Horror Con, and there's
Ooh.
so many guests, and we're just like, man, we are going to go broke with all these conventions and
Yeah.
traveling.
Yeah.
But they're so much fun. You're going to see so many people. You're going to see people dressed up. You're going to see,
Wow.
there's going to be people that will remind you of lines that you probably don't even remember.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're like totally they're really into it. And I respect that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
actually I'm very humbled by it because I'm an actress. I just was playing a role and I'm just very humbled by the fandom of it all. That's
Mm.
why I try to answer DMs. And every time I get to a certain level, I was doing YouTube. They said you should do Instagram. So I did that. Then they said you should do TikTok. So I did TikTok. And a grand fan suggested I do conventions. And it just turns out that he's an agent for conventions. I had no idea. Just through communication, just talking with I have this thing that I'm fanning myself with that
Oh, you're fine.
in case you see that, like, what's that? But I had no idea. He requested an autograph and I sent it to him and we started talking through DMs. And he just said, "Well, can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Sure." I thought it was about the show. And he asked me if I was interested in conventions. But God is so amazing. I had two other people tell me I should look into it. I actually researched it online and I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And I didn't think anything else about it. Now here I am. Like, it's like
Yep.
wild.
Yep. 64 days away. We already got the countdown going and
Oh,
everything.
dude.
We're excited.
Oh, they're so sweet. They're so
Uh,
sweet. Handsome and sweet.
I
I like
appreciate
that.
that. I appreciate
Well,
that. That's the first compliment I've received on this show. So
What? Who do I beat up? Who do I beat up? Okay.
all the other guests. No, fun fact for you as well. I've only had 3 women on the show, so
Oh, really?
you're the third. I don't
Oh,
get many
wow.
acceptance, so I don't know why, but yeah, it's growing though, so we're getting there, right?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? You're going to have so many people, you're not going to be able to deal with them all. I
Oh,
see that in the future for you.
I have 6 episodes as of right now ready
Uh-huh.
that I have to go and get done with over the next week, and it's like
Wow.
editing and staggering them all on top, putting them out at
Yeah.
the right time. So it just keeps me busy.
It's a lot of work. We
It
had a
is.
podcast, and it was
I
a grand
remember.
fan that worked with us, and that was by chance too. I mean, it's they people just step up like little soldiers, and they be like, "Can I help you with this and that?" And I'll be like, "I don't know. Can you? What are we doing?" It's I'm very blessed.
Oh, definitely. Just a couple more questions about Splatcon, and then I want to jump in and
Okay.
chat with you a little bit more about getting to know you, and then we'll jump into like Victorious and stuff. So,
Okay.
we make it a little different for you.
Okay.
What can fans expect to purchase at your table, and will there be any exclusive merch, like certain pictures, maybe one with you on the phone?
That's a popular picture. I do know that Davidson Talent Agency that hooked all this up.
Mhm.
They're totally in charge of the pictures and things like that.
Okay.
They told me I could bring some. I do have like maybe 10 pictures.
Okay.
I don't know.
What's the start?
That I'm, and then the little thing that I said I was going to pass out. I'm just free and easy, man. I'm just, where do you want me? What do you want me to do? And once I kind of get this under my belt, I'll know what to expect. But
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. Should I be more serious about it? I'm just rolling. I'm like something to do. You know, um, I'm gonna have fun. I'm looking forward to meeting the grand fans and being in that environment, learning. I'll be learning, experiencing. So basically, that's what I'm looking forward to: soaking it all up,
Mm,
meeting people that I have been communicating with through DM, actually seeing them in the
mm.
flesh. I know it'll be like move along, that type of thing, but as you could tell, I can get something in real quick and, you
Yeah.
know, connect. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I don't think they're, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but based off of the personality I've seen on like Instagram and
Hmm.
all your social medias, I don't think there's a serious bone in your body unless you really need to. And this is a first time experience for you. I
Yeah,
think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. You're
I
going to have
am.
so much fun, and
Yeah.
you
And the
know,
character will be there. So,
okay,
if someone wants to take a selfie, it won't be
mhm,
Marilyn, it'll be Andre's grandma.
there
Yeah,
you go.
don't touch my skin and
Oh man, oh man.
I know.
Uh,
You digging that, huh? You digging it, huh?
Oh no, like we said we have to meet you. Like no, we're just enjoying it. And I'm working with a local company. Their names
Hmm.
are Zombie Productions. And
Uh-huh.
if everything works out, I'm hoping to bring a couple guests. We're not trying to bring any anybody less, make anybody feel less important, but we're hoping to get some of those Funko Pops made, but they're customs.
Yeah.
So I'm working with them, and hopefully we could get one made of you. But if not, we'll definitely bring a printout of the show. Hopefully get pay to get that signed, obviously, and
Yeah.
obviously get a selfie with you. We're gonna have to definitely do that. Once my
Oh,
girlfriend
I'd
sees
love
this
to.
stuff, so she's gonna be like,
What's her name?
yeah. Her name is Fabiola.
Fabiola. I like that. Fabiola. That's
Thank you. Um, Man, I'm enjoying this episode so much. But I
Aw.
definitely wanted to ask you, I want my viewers to get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
What was life growing up for you, and how did you find your way into acting? Ultimately, I know you said Percy,
Yeah.
your husband, but
Yeah.
was there any interest of that before he got you into it?
None. I'm the middle child. I had two sisters younger than me, two brothers older. So I'm like part dude. I love sports. I love football, basketball, baseball. Um, I was always a happy child, always laughing, always smiling. When one of us would get into trouble and my mom would say, "Who did that?" I'd start laughing. So I would get blamed. So it's like, I've always been this way. I just wake up happy. I'm very blessed. Um, I love people. I love meeting new people, talking with people. I'm not shy about being silly or appearing to be silly. I mean, life is short. You can't always wonder what people think, and you could insult me and it would go right over my head unless it was just like really a blatant insult, like your breath stinks or something like that. It's like I'm not concerned about what other people think. I I am a Christian, and I come forth with love. I come forth with acceptance and love, and I just want to live, man. I just want to live. That's it. Once you start getting older, you wake up, you're like, another day. You're not worried
Yeah.
about petty stuff. You just keep going. So when the acting opportunity came through my husband, I used to work in a law office as a legal secretary. Then I got promoted to a supervisor, and my husband would say, you really should sign up with my agent. You could do this, and I was like, no, that's not really for me. So after about a year, I signed up with his agent. I'm very analytical, so I asked the agent, "What are your goals for me?" And she said, "I would like you to be on have a recurring role on a sitcom or something like that, and commercials, movies, all the typical things." So I said, "Okay, I'll pray for that." And when I think it was like the third audition or something, I ended up booking Victorious, and she says, "This is just so awesome." She said, "Can you pray for this too?" It was like we started having discussions about what to pray for. But it was I was so ignorant about what acting was. I thought I could do it on my lunch hour. I thought I could go to a set and film whatever it is on like an hour and a half or something and go back to work. And it just got so busy that I just ended up retiring after doing it maybe for like a couple of years. But they were so understanding because it gave them cred with their kids. They'd bring their kids to the office, and I'd be sitting up there typing at the computer. They'd be like, "Oh!" And I'd sign stuff and talk with them. And then at some point, you make a transition, and I just decided to retire and work at it full time. So it's been a real blessing to me. Lots of opportunities. I mean, here I am talking to you. So
There we are. There
yeah,
we are.
yeah.
um, I mean, you brought so much joy as Andre's grandma on the show. I mean, again, everybody that's tuning into this episode, they can hear us having a good time. And I'm talking to I'm talking to the woman behind the character,
I,
Um,
thank you so much.
of
Oh my
course,
God.
of course. How did that role come about, and what was it like working on Victorious?
It was great. I was around a bunch of young people. I have grandchildren. So I have a connection with young people, and I may be wrong, but I feel like the biggest injustice they suffer is not being seen and not being heard. And I am just the opposite. I will sit up and talk with you about whatever you want to talk about. I see if you have on a cute outfit, I'm gonna say that's really cute, the way you put those colors together or the way your hair is or something like that. And it kind of made them see me like kind of as one of them. And I was so impressed with their talent. They'd get a script, they'd absorb it and act it out, and everything was so tight, the schedule. You'd have the run through, everyone at the table, then you'd have a rehearsal, then you have another rehearsal, then you have the executives come in and they'll watch you do it, then you would film. So it's acting is a job. It's a full day. And I was just there for so many episodes. I think I did 8. I was booked for one, but it was when they did the demographics. I think it was Matt Bennett that told me that when they did the demographics of the characters, my character rated very high, and that's why they brought me back. But I was originally booked for one episode. But
Wow.
I'm very gun ho, about the crazy. And they say, "Hey, Marilyn, do you think you could like scream in Sicklewood's face and then jump sideways onto a mattress?" I like, yeah, sure. It was yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
One thing that really just caught my attention with what you were saying is connecting with the younger people. My
Hmm.
girlfriend tells me all the time, she's like, "You're so sweet with older people. Like, you just have a good connection." Is it because of, the connection you have with your grandma? And that's something
Yeah.
you and I talked about
Oh
before this was
yeah.
my grandmother. And we'll definitely dive into that
Okay.
very shortly. But, I think that's really what it is like grandparents are there for us, when
Oh yeah.
we're in need, whether that be the attention
Hmm.
or whether we need help in life. And
Yeah.
it could be many things. And
The
I think
wisdom,
that's
you know.
yes,
Yeah. It's
definitely.
amazing. Because one thing about getting older is you have that experience. So you realize that whatever it is that a younger person is going through, they will get through it. Even though it may be devastating to them at that moment, you can kind of take the edge off and let them know you don't want to discount what they're feeling, but you can let them know that you're going to get past this, and things will get better. And it's, pressure makes a diamond, and,
All of that.
all those things we got in the
Yeah.
grandma handbook, it's like, okay, what page is this?
Oh,
But
yeah.
I think it's a wonderful thing. The
Mhm.
grandparent grandchild relationship. It's a really cool thing. I love it.
And you're right about the wisdom as you get older.
Hmm.
My little brother, he just graduated high school, and I've
Uh-huh.
gotten the pleasure of watching him grow up. My brother Dakota, and
Uh-huh.
he's come to me, asking me for advice. He's asked me to teach him
Aw.
how to drive because he doesn't know how to drive yet. He's asked me,
Yeah.
for like just so much advice, and I'm like, that makes me feel very good,
Oh
inside.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
it's not nobody's ever asked me for advice. No one's ever asked me for any of that stuff. So to hear that from him, it's like, okay, that's it. I could take my wisdom as I've learned,
Yes.
and teach him the ways I would have loved to learn things growing up, so I
Hmm.
could pass that on to him and he could run with it and utilize it in his life now.
And he will pass it on as well. And that's
Exactly.
when you have your legacy, because he will
Exactly.
pass on whatever it is that he gets from you, because it's valuable. And when you have something of value, you do want to share it. You don't want to just sit it on a shelf. So you have legacy now, Adam. Think about that.
100%. You're
Yeah.
right. You're
Yeah.
right. Yep. So I wanted to ask, do you have any favorite comfort foods or dishes you like to cook? You said you're a grandmother. I'm sure the grandkids love a certain dish.
I like cereal. No, I'm just kidding.
Cereal's good. I did not
um,
realize how much I love cereal until I've become an
I
adult.
do. I do. Percy does all the cooking, and so I could
Okay.
tell you some of the things that he cooks that I like.
That Hey,
Um,
that works.
Short ribs, he makes, and the best pancakes, and oh my God, pork chops. It's something about the way he does. They got the smash burger that's popular now, and
Yeah.
and he's into that. But Oh, and he made enchiladas the other day. My favorite
Yeah.
food is chicken. I like fried rotisserie, whatever. I'll tell you a quick funny story. It was so many of us, five kids and the two parents, seven of us. And my mother would slap the food on the table and everybody just snatch. And I was slow. So when we had chicken, I always got the chicken back. And my father
Oh man.
told me it was the best piece of the chicken. He said, "Oh wow, you got the chicken back. You got the best." So I wouldn't feel bad. So when I got my first job, I went to a restaurant and I ordered chicken back, and
They probably looked
they
at you like you're crazy, huh?
they did. I said, "I thought this was supposed to be a nice restaurant. You don't serve chicken back." It was so funny, and so they was like, "No, we do not serve chicken back." And so I said, "Well, I'm leaving." And so after they kicked me out, no, I'm just kidding. But I did call my dad. He said, "Oh baby, yeah, I didn't think you go to a restaurant try to order." But I still like it, you know. What can I
Of
say?
course.
What's your favorite food?
Man, I'm a big guy, and you will see that once we come to Splatcon. I am 6'4". I'm a big guy, and I love food. That's how I got here, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I love
Or to
meatloaf.
love. I like
Exactly.
that.
I love meatloaf, Chinese
Hmm.
foods. You know, we have a buffet here in the town that I live in, and
Yeah.
it's like Asian style. It's
Oh,
Vegas style, so it's like you got all the sushi that you can eat, great
wow.
quality. It's expensive though, but
Yeah, food is expensive these
yeah,
days. It's just the way it is. That's
exactly.
cool. That is
Yeah, I
cool.
love pizza. Pizza's some of my favorite. My girlfriend's like, "What is wrong with you? Why do you like pizza so much?" But
And it tastes so good cold.
it
I
does.
don't get that. It doesn't even matter if it's cold. It tastes
It's-
good. Yeah, I like pizza too. Oh, we're food animals. We're spirit animals when it comes to food. I like that.
that's why I cannot wait to get to LA because we already have things lined up. She wants to go to In and Out, and I'm like, I've already had it. It's not so good,
Yeah.
but
It's
she's
not
gonna
that
get to
special, but it's an experience. So is
yes.
she gonna get the animal or what type of burger is she gonna get? Do you know?
I'm not too sure, but I
Yeah.
know I'm gonna clip this and I'm going to post it on Instagram, and I will let her comment down below and tag you
Yeah.
so you know the answer.
Okay.
Um, but
All
yeah, no, it's
right.
the experience. We're gonna go to the one by the airport, so we're gonna watch the planes fly in, and
Oh.
um, we want to go to like Treo's Donuts and Tacos, Randy's
Oh
Donuts.
yeah.
There's just
Yeah.
so much that we want to go,
Yeah.
try out. I feel like we just won't have enough time,
Yeah. Those
but we'll
places
figure it out.
are iconic, so I can understand you're
Yes,
wanting to visit them while you're in town. Especially
yes,
Randy's. I mean, it's that place has been there for decades. Everybody
yeah.
knows about that place.
It's been in movies
Wow.
like Iron Man. She's the one that told me about it. She's just like, because we have a donut place here that my
Hmm.
grandmother really loved, and I'm going to put them up to the test. I mean, I'm not going to go in being biased. I'm going to go in open minded and see how they compare. We
Yeah.
don't. I feel like our food options here in Washington are not so great. There's just not
Uh,
so
yeah. But that's because you've been there so long. If someone
true.
else came there, they would probably be like amazed by, what you
That's
had
true.
there and how it tastes and stuff. So you have to think like a tourist. Put the
Yes,
newness back into it, you know.
that's true. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's the wisdom. There's the wisdom coming out.
There you go. There you go.
So we talked about, like I said before the show, we talked about grandmothers, and
Oh yeah.
grandmothers, they hold such a special place in all of our hearts, and they're often the keepers of family stories, the
Oh
source
yeah.
of unconditional love, and the ones who make our lives just a bit sweeter, and the wisdom and warmth. And of course, you played a memorable Grandma and Victorious.
Yes.
Um, what do you think makes the role of a grandmother so universally cherished and impactful? For me, I think, for me, my grandmother, she was there for me for everything.
Hmm.
Doctor's visits. She took me home from the hospital when I was a baby. She was there
Oh.
when I was getting like shots and stuff. She would tell me, she would feel the pain for me because they would have to poke me so much because they couldn't
Yeah.
they couldn't find veins and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but even like watching football with me, and even giving me a place to stay when I had nowhere to go.
Oh
But what
yeah.
does like what do you think makes the role of a grandmother so universally cherished and impactful?
I think what makes the role of a grandmother universally cherished and impactful is the foundation that a grandmother gives to a family. When you see a tall building being built, they dig down first, and they dig way down to get that foundation to hold the weight of that building. And I think a family with a grandmother is like that. She's the foundation that holds the weight of the family, because sometimes the parents or other family members or whatever, they just don't have the strength or the knowledge or the finances or whatever to deal with what strikes that family. And I'm not saying that a grandmother has all that. Sometimes her finances are tight, and of course, we get tired. But when you need us, it's like we dig deep and we come up with that. If you're hurting, we're hurting. If we will tell you the truth. If you need to get rid of that job, get rid of that job. You know, we know how to do those type of things, and we know how to do them with love. Sometimes people can be pretty harsh. Let me turn my phone off. I forgot. People can be pretty harsh sometimes, and they can tell you something in a way where the message is missed because the tone isn't right. You know what I mean? So if you are in a situation with someone that loves you, that could give you um, advice and support that feels like a warm hug, that's better than a splash of cold water. You'll take that. And even though you may not accept it at that moment, you're thinking about it. And when it comes from a source of love, someone that really truly cares, it, it's hard for you not to accept that. And it's hard for you not to take that in and act on it. We all need someone, whether it's a big mama, a grandmama, a neighbor mama, or someone that that can tell you, hey baby, you look like you're not taking care of yourself. Is everything okay? And sometimes you may not realize how ragged you're running yourself until someone says something like that to you. It's like taking off the blinkers. I think that's what grandmothers are for. I think that's why they're important.
A
You
hundred
know?
percent. A
Yeah.
100%. For me, the next question I wanted to ask you was, what's one lesson or piece of wisdom you've learned from a grandmother figure in your life, or even being a grandmother of your own? I mean, for me,
Yeah.
I'm at the next step in my life. I mean, I'm getting ready to turn 34 next week, and I'm
Hmm.
like, I've already learned from my grandmother, the first half. My grandma always told me, I can't means I won't. And
Yeah.
that has really set with me, that there's many times where I wanted to give up on so
Yeah.
much, whether it be the show. During the time I started the show was the time that she started going into the hospital and stuff like
Oh,
that.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
I appreciate that. And it's just like I had so many episodes lined up, but I was like, I just felt like I couldn't do it anymore. I
Hmm.
just couldn't sit there and talk to anybody and not have that energy. But I
Yeah.
also kept telling myself, I can't do this, but here I am. I'm still keeping it going because I can't means I won't, right?
Yeah, that's right. Those words stuck with you. They're like
Mhm.
in your head and in your heart. And I'm so proud of you that you listened and that you kept going, because if you hadn't, I wouldn't be here meeting you and talking to you, and you're such a stellar young man.
I appreciate that.
Seriously. I mean, grandma is still with you. She's still in your heart and in your head. And what team did the two of you watch when you watched? Was it the Seahawks, or
Oh,
who did you watch?
our main one was the Huskies, and if you follow
Oh
college
yeah.
football, this last year was such a legendary season for them. I mean, we got to the national
Wow.
championship, and yeah, it was. I just didn't get to enjoy that with her, but we got to watch it, and I'm telling you, that national championship game, I was so mad, and my girlfriend's like,
That's
"Why are you crying
awesome.
over football?" Like, you don't get it. You don't get it. She's like,
Yeah.
"I'm going to shoot you."
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about sports. If you don't really get it,
Mhm.
but you can learn to get it. But
Oh yeah.
when you have a team and you see your team excel like that, it is. I
Oh
have
yeah.
screamed, I have cried. I support all the California teams, and
Okay.
in college, I was following Deion Sanders. So right
Okay.
now, I'm a Colorado fan.
Yep.
So I'm
You already
anxious to
know.
see. Yeah, so I'll see what he does. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, and where else for sports can you just, or an amusement park, can you just scream and cry and all that? Nobody think you're crazy because it's
Oh yeah.
sports. That's
Oh yeah.
sports. Yeah.
There was like a lot of things. Like I would go to Seahawks games with my best friend, and I was just like, this whole last year, I was like, I don't really want to go. Like I just want to sit at
Yeah.
home and watch. I can't
Yeah.
call my grandma up and say, Gram, guess where I'm at? And then
Yeah.
she'll be hearing everybody cheering, and we'll be talking about the game after how the guys performed so badly.
Yeah.
But I got to enjoy those with my girlfriend and her
Yeah.
parents, and so I got to kind of carry that over, and we're ready for football season to begin. And
There you go. You're in the new season. You
yes,
still have that experience, just with a different crew, a different posse.
exactly,
Yeah, new
exactly.
season. That's all that
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Cool. I like that.
definitely. Now that leads me to my next question.
Hmm.
Man, what do you think the role of how do you think the role of a grandmother has influenced your performances and the way you connect with your audience? I mean, I'm sitting here
Oh.
talking to you, and we're connecting just like that. But how do you is that something you
um,
expected to take on?
when I played the crazy part of Andre's grandma, my grandmother, she could say the craziest things like, I'm gonna slap your eyebrows off if you don't clean up your room, you know? and
Mhm.
and when they want the character to come up with weird things, especially in my cameos, I have no problem
Mhm.
saying things when they say, uh, you know, Joey is getting his driver's license. Can you give him some advice? I'd be like, keep your hands on the wheel, and if you see a possum hitchhiking, don't pick them up. They're sneaky. It's like it's just so easy for me to come up with off the wall things because she had a great sense of humor, and she used to say funny things and stuff, and she used humor to get our attention rather than being angry or anything. And I think that truly affected me because I love humor. It's a big part of who I am.
Definitely, we all need a good
Yeah.
laugh, and
Oh yeah.
I'm definitely getting some good ones.
Oh well, thank you. I'm enjoying myself too. This is
Of
a
course,
great
you're welcome.
podcast.
I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I'm having fun.
I've had a lot of serious episodes, but I think this is like nothing against all my other guests, but like
Hmm.
it's not like full of laughs. Like I've had some with like serious guys that are in like horror movies,
Oh
and then they're
yeah.
like, and we're laughing and we're having a good time. But like I've had
Hmm.
some where I ain't gonna name them names, but like it lasted only like 15 minutes because I just felt like the energy wasn't there, so I just kind of had to, you know, kind of.
You're like, I got a pot boiling. I think I can we reschedule?
Yeah, exactly.
That's some
um,
people though.
oh yeah, it's like I don't like to ever have anybody on my show that I wouldn't want to talk to because behind a name, TV show, status, you're a human
Oh
being
yeah,
as well, and you could be
that's
spending
true.
time, with your husband or your family or doing the things you like. And if you're just having a bad day, just don't come on to my
Oh
show. Just tell me I need to reschedule, or just really tell me I'm
yeah,
not interested. I understand.
I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah. My last question though on this topic was, do you have any favorite memories about your grandmother, or even you as a grandmother, that you would like
Oh.
to share with myself and my viewers? For me, my grandmother, as you could tell, she was my rock. I mean, always believed in
Oh.
me. And I think a memory that always stuck with me was the times that she would like take us to the movies, and we're sitting
Oh.
there. I think it was like Power Rangers or Pokemon, and
Hmm.
my cousin's sitting there, and he looks over at my grandma, and he just yells out loud in the theater, "Grandma, are you sleeping?" And we'll look over, and grandma's sleeping. um, And I kind of had to I took her to go see the Elvis movie,
Yeah.
like a year ago, and I had to
Uh-huh.
look over, make sure she wasn't sleeping, and
Yeah.
no, she was into that movie because Elvis was a part of her
Oh
her
yeah.
teenage years. But
Yeah. She
that's
could
a great
connect.
story.
Yeah. That
Exactly.
was a good movie too. Yeah. A lot of
It was
grind
phenomenal.
action. Yeah,
It was
baby.
phenomenal. You get it. Trust me, I've heard all the stories
Oh
about
yeah.
Elvis and his pelvis and
Yeah. Elvis
my
in his
grandma's.
pelvis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
But do you have any favorite memories that you would like to share?
Um, my favorite memory that I have the most with my grandmother is that we used to like to watch the old black and white classic movies, and so it became a thing with us. But while we were watching the movie, she had this long hair that came down to like just above her waist, and she would like to wear it like in a braid. So what she would do is she would sit in front of me, and I would part her hair and I would put oil in her scalp and then comb her hair and then braid it for her while we're watching the movie and stuff. And it must have felt really good to her because she'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah." And I thought that was so funny, you know. But now I realize as I get older, it's just like the little things that you can't really get to and do yourself that you
Yeah.
appreciate someone doing for you. And what better than to have your grandchild do it who's just like happy to bond. And I mean, I've seen a lot of old movies from Gone with the Wind to Imitation of Life to a lot of movies, a lot of old movies. And when people ask me how what training I took for acting, I truly have to say it was watching old movies because they're very, when they kiss, they're like, oh, they're just like, it's very demonstrative the way that they would act and stuff like that. And I didn't know it, but at the time that was actually helping me in the future. So that's the
See,
biggest memory.
and you've had other roles than Victorious too. I mean, they were a little bit smaller roles,
Hmm.
and unfortunately not as memorable, to many than
Yeah.
than Victorious. But they're still there, and I'm sure you took a lot of that and applied it.
Oh, I did. I did, especially like the crazy angry stare or when you're ranting or we all know someone, in our family that would go off on a rant or give you, what do you mean? So it's all family. It's all family. So yeah, I've done a couple of TV shows. I'm trying to remember the names. CVS commercial I did with Percy. I mean, all of it is acting. It's just different type of things. Oh, my very first one was with the Shield, and they wanted me to play an angry black woman whose son was in trouble with the police, and they wanted to interrogate me, and I didn't want to answer any questions, and I said, "You gonna pay me for that?" Okay. It was like I find it interesting, because I get cast as crazy or angry or something like that, and then when I'm done with the acting part and I go into who I really am, they'd be like, "Which one's real?" It's acting. It's just all acting. It's fun.
It's funny you say that because last night I did pre-production for another episode.
Hmm.
I'm sure you know who this guy is. Maybe not by name or anything, but you've seen Elf, I'm sure, with Will Ferrell.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. The big
Okay,
giant elf that
yeah,
thinks his dad is what was it, James Caan or something like
yeah,
that. Oh
yeah.
yeah,
He
I
thinks
know that
he's
movie.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's
So
going around in a elf outfit.
Yeah. So I had the guy from the mailroom scene.
Uh-huh.
He's the older guy. He's like, I'm 26 years old, but he's
Hmm.
like, he obviously isn't 26 years old. He looks
Hmm.
like it. But
Yeah.
one of his other roles, because he looked like a homeless guy in that movie, but then he played in another movie I like called Hot Rod. It's
Hmm.
like back in 2007, and they casted him again as another homeless man, and it's like you get casted as a crazy person in
Yeah.
a lot of these shows or movies, and it's
He
like,
got typecast. They call that typecast when you get
okay,
kind of in a
okay,
rut, and but they see you as that. But you have to look at it as work is work. You know.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
oh yeah,
compliment in a way.
definitely. Now I
Yeah.
know we're getting very close to time right now, so I want to chat with you a little bit about Victorious, and then there's
Okay.
another portion that I kind of want to talk about. So I'm gonna really just kind of shorten down the Victorious segment. If people want to hear about that,
Hmm.
there's tons of interviews out there, and a lot of the questions are the same. So I changed these up a little bit for you.
Okay.
Um, Now, Victorious was a game changer when it hit the scenes in 2010 when Nickelodeon
Yes.
brought it out. I mean, we're talking a cast that's packed with so much talent, and I'm
Oh
sure
yeah.
you know that. Like you touched on it a little bit, but we had
Hmm.
Victoria Justice, Ariana Grande before she became this big star, and we're even
Yes.
talking Leon Thomas. I mean,
Yes.
no one could have predicted the success and what it would have become, and then we had
Hmm.
the unforgettable addition of your character, Andre's grandma, who brought so much humor to and heart to the show. Your character of Andre's grandma became a fan favorite for her hilarious and sometimes outrageous antics.
Hmm.
How much of that character was you before, you started doing it, and how much was on that page? Like, do you have any input on how that was portrayed in the show?
Um, I think the loud is all me. I don't have any quirky mannerisms or anything like that, but I can give you a look when I want to get my point across. That's me. They do give you the words. It's up to you to flesh it out and do the characteristics. Like I don't think so. And all that kind of stuff. So all the quirky movements and the mannerisms and stuff like that is me. I can come up with that kind of stuff, but the words are all the writers, all of it. And they would direct me, of course, like when I mentioned earlier, screaming at Sikowitz, turning sideways and leaping onto
Yeah.
like a mattress and that type of thing. So they would envision things and they would ask me if I was okay doing it, and I was, as long as I was safe, I was willing to give it a try. I put everything down as a learning experience. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and it kept me young, working with all those young people and stuff like that. I loved it. It was fun.
Given the success, of the show, and when it launched, some of the careers of the biggest names in the industry
Oh
today,
yeah.
what was the vibe like on the set? Did you have any idea that the show would blow up? Did you get to work with any of the kids while on the set?
Um, let's see. I definitely did scenes with Leon because he was my
Yeah.
grandson, and we did a lot of scenes. I did scenes with Ari from screaming the butterfly out of her
Mm.
ear, um, and with Matt because he was in that same scene. But I don't. Oh well, the sleepover at Sikowitz, they all were there, and
Mm.
I did scenes with all of them. But yeah, it was so fluid, and I would be brought in maybe every 3 or 4 episodes. So it's hard for me to really pinpoint exactly how I work with someone directly other than Leon, with him being my grandson. But I can tell you when we did our rehearsals from A to Z, the entire thing, everyone was so prepared, everyone was so talented. I mean, the singing, the dancing, the acting, it was a vehicle that gave them a chance to display every bit of the talent and energy and professionalism that they had, and they did it day in and day out without any problem. I was totally amazed. I just child actors are a special breed. They're someone that should be totally respected and totally appreciated because they're grinding. Their acting is not easy. There's a lot of direction. Stand here, say that, look at this camera, you know, back to one. I mean, it's a whole different language, and it's a whole tribe of people from the crew to the prop people to the camera people to lighting to you do a podcast, so you understand all the different aspects, and it's like you're putting all these ingredients together and you're coming out with the perfect pot pie. So it's like
Oh yeah.
I,
No,
I love pot
it's a lot.
pie. It's a
Oh,
lot.
they're good.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
real good, man.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Now there is a lot that goes into like my shows. Like for me, I work a 9 to 5. Like this doesn't
Hmm.
pay me. This doesn't
Yeah,
pay me. I
it's
work
a
a 9 to
job.
5. It
Yeah.
is. It is. I mean,
Hmm.
because I edit my own episodes. They may not be the top quality edits just yet, but like I edit my own episodes. I have to
Yeah.
go through and I got to do my research. I have to
Hmm.
make sure I'm not asking the same questions and making the episodes unique and different. I
Yeah.
got to make sure that I'm, coming up with everything, even going out and reaching out to my guests. That takes time out of my
Yeah.
days, and
Yeah.
I manage it. I'm almost 50 episodes deep, and
Oh,
it's
really? Oh
yes,
my God. Oh, oh my God.
yes.
Uh, that's awesome. I know the
Yeah.
work you put into it.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
It's
Um,
amazing. It's
one
amazing.
last one last thing I wanted to touch on,
Okay.
because I made some really unique questions for you, but we're running out of time. But you're more than welcome to always come back on for another episode.
Okay.
Um, anytime, anytime.
Maybe
But
after the con, and then I could tell you
yes,
what it was like.
yes,
We
yes,
could do
that
that.
works. That
Yeah.
will work. Perfect. But the show, I mean, the show ended in 2013 after
Hmm.
3 short seasons, but
Yeah.
its fan base is still going strong to this day. I mean,
I
a lot
know.
of us 90s babies were kind of introduced to it, and
Hmm.
um, looking back, is there any particular episode or scene that stands out to you that, that is a favorite or impactful for your time, whether it be you on the episode or maybe even something that you've learned from the kids that have been on it?
My favorite is driving Tori crazy. I
Okay.
really enjoyed that. I was in the back seat. I got to do a crazy laugh. I got to dump oatmeal, into Tori's hands, and I got to caress my mug, and it was it was funny. I just thought it almost broke character out of all the work that I've done on that show. That was the first time I almost broke character when I was like, I'm not gonna let you touch my mug. And I was trying so hard not to start laughing because I, the look on her face was like, are, I, I loved it. And when I turned the mug upside down to dump the oatmeal and stuff, I was like, make sure she get every bit of it, man. Yeah, I'm committed. So
That's amazing. That's so hilarious.
yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. And he's like, You wanna ride tomorrow? Nope. No, thank you.
Now,
Yep.
I don't like to normally like dive into like negative things on my show, but did you see the documentary that came out, the Quiet on the Set documentary?
Oh no, I didn't. And
Okay.
I I didn't I never saw anything. I
Yeah.
don't even discuss it because it's like
Yeah.
me talking about calculus, and I know
Yeah.
nothing about
You just
calculus.
don't
I
know.
I, I
Yeah.
don't do it. I don't know anything about it. It's yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
watch it. Some grand fans, they I won't say snarky, but they would jump into my DMs, and they would
Wow.
say things, and but I would just be like, "What's the matter? Do you need a hug?" or something,
Yeah.
I didn't even address it. I'd be like, "Oh, why are you being so mean? Do you need a hug over the
Yeah.
internet or something like that?" Because I just don't know. So
Yeah. No, and
yeah,
I totally understand and respect that. It's
yeah.
tough, and I wasn't gonna lead down that road. I just wanted to know if you ever seen it, and just based off of
I had
what
no
people are
desire
saying.
to
So
see it.
it's
Um,
just rough.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I respect the way you brought it up too, because you were very gentle and
Mhm.
respectful. The way that you brought it up,
Yeah,
and everyone isn't that way. Sometimes you have to be careful about social media and different things like that, because
for sure.
it's a whole different world. And if
Yes.
when you absorb all this stuff, and I'm not saying anything one way or the other, but you have to do your own research, you have to make your own opinion, and you can't jump on a bandwagon of hurt, just because everyone else is. It's kind of the climate of today's world, the negativity and stuff. And I'm just too level and too I'm full of joy and I want to keep it that way, you know.
For sure.
So
Definitely.
I just no, I don't know anything about it. So
Yeah, no, like you said, I mean, people are always looking for that one slip up, and you talk
I
about something
know.
you don't know, and it's game
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
So
That's what
yeah,
I would tell people when they would ask me about acting. I'd say if someone asked me, "Do I know how to do something?" I'd say, "No, I don't know how to do that, but I'm willing to learn." you know and that would always be my answer, and that would open the door to new experience. That would put
yeah,
it in their hands whether or not they want to trust me to take it to that level, or if they would just be willing to accept that I don't know how to do it. So I found, even in life, in anything, that really is helpful: honesty and willingness, to learn or go to the next level. That's how I try to approach things. So
100%.
yeah.
Now, this last part I want to just touch base on.
Hmm.
It's a pretty big deal. When you told me about you and your husband, we could have talked about the podcast and things, but that was the then. I mean, that was then. This is now. So you guys kind of have
Yeah.
a new project that you're working on, and for me, the reason why I started the show was one because somebody told me, Adam, have you ever thought about interviewing people? Because originally we just started out just vlogging, and then it
Oh,
started out
really?
with yeah, it was just all vlogs. But then
Yeah.
someone told me, Adam, have you ever thought about interviewing people? And I'm like, no, like what do you mean? So it's like, oh, just interviewing famous people. And so that person, I mean, but like for me, one thing, like, everybody is somebody, right? I
Oh,
never
yeah.
discount anybody on their status, but like
Hmm.
the level of people this person was interviewing, and I don't like to call them interviews because it's just like I like to
It's
call them like a hangout
a
session. It's like
conversation more. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I just recently had Columbus Short on. He was like my one of my latest guests, and he was like, dude, I feel like I was talking to one of my homies. I'm like,
Oh, that's so
okay, I'm
cool.
glad, like,
Yeah.
to hear somebody of that stature say that. But
Yeah.
um, the people he was, talking with haven't been really at the magnitude of where I've been in such a short time. And I say that humbly because that could just all go away at any moment, right?
That's true.
And
That's
anybody could say no. But yeah, for me, I started the show. I was like, you know what? I eventually want to get back. Like, I want to go and start hosting events locally because we don't really have much of that
ah,
here. And
nice.
then eventually even get back to charity. So what that leads me to is it was really inspiring to hear that you and your husband have recently signed up to volunteer with the AARP and the LA
Oh,
Mission.
yeah. Yeah.
Volunteering, I really feel, is such a powerful way to get back to your communities.
You have to.
And I'm sure contributions will make a real big difference to a lot of people. There's a lot of
Hmm.
people that don't have much, and when people can make them feel better in a good way, I think that means a lot.
It
Um,
does.
What motivated you guys to get involved with organizations like the AARP and the LA Mission? Was there a special moment or a specific moment or experience that really inspired this decision?
I think it's because when you're involved with your church and you're a Christian, and you want to, it's not just about um, you getting a relationship with God. You want to have a relationship with others that is spiritual, and where you can help. One of our sayings is, if you can help somebody, do it. You know, if someone needs your help, don't say I'll let you know. If you know right then and there you can do it, say yes, and just go ahead and do it. And I think um, once you start getting blessed in your own life, and it's easier for you to be able to help someone, you do it. And so one of the ways that we decided that we want to do it is volunteering through those two organizations. So it's we're not just here for ourselves. We're supposed to extend ourselves and help others. And sometimes people find out how they want to do that right away by having a nonprofit or something like that. A business I'm not a business minded individual where I will open up a nonprofit or anything, but I can go somewhere through the AARP and do what they tell me to do, or go down to the LA Mission and serve the food line, or different things like that. It's a need there, and so we had a discussion and we decided that's where we want to go. So yeah, we feel really good about it. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this con as well, because everything that we do, we try to look at it as, well, it is a blessing, but then we want to break off a piece of that blessing and pass it on, and do something with else with it. So you never know. I'm getting into branding and different things like that. So it's just incredible to me where this character has
Okay.
taken me. It's really mind blowing. That's why I'm so open to someone suggests, hey, do you want to do this, do that? I'd be like, yeah, sure, let's check it out. Because you never know. You never know when it's going to end. I mean, you're talking about since 2012. I filmed the first episode in 2009, and I'm just grateful, and I feel
It's a long
very
time.
humble. You know,
Mm.
it,
Yeah, no, like for
yeah.
me, I've been one of those people, like I'll see homeless people on the side of the road and I'm just
Hmm.
like, I remember growing up, my parents would like, give some money because I know like my stepdad, he came from, some hard times in life
Oh
and whatnot.
yeah,
And, I would sit there and I'm just like, I'm looking, I'm like, it's hard for me. And I feel so bad because I'm like, I can't just give somebody money, when I know
yeah,
the value of money, like,
yeah,
I know it's important because every bit adds up. Like, how do I know this person's homeless or not, But there's
yeah.
so many resources, and then sometimes there's really not. So the
Mm,
way to really get back, if somebody's like me, is to go down to your local shelter or find ways to volunteer your time,
yeah.
because you could serve somebody a meal and give them that smile, on your
That's all
face.
it takes. That's all it
Exactly.
takes. It's
And that's,
service. It's
yeah,
service. Yeah, that's what it
exactly.
is. And
Exactly.
it puts your whole life in perspective, because sometimes we think that we're lacking something that is more of a want than a need. And then when you see someone that have a true need, it puts things in perspective for you and make you realize that you're blessed to have what you need, and that what you want, while it may still be like important to you, it's not a necessity. It's something that will come when it comes. But not having a bed or a pillow to lay your head on, that's deep, you know. And
Oh, yeah.
some of us are one paycheck away from being in that situation. I mean, the
Exactly.
pandemic destroyed a lot of lives, so
Exactly.
it's something to think about. So that,
Exactly.
I like that you want to do that, because you're young, and young people. today seem so in tuned and so aware. They don't wait until they get old. They're pursuing things so much sooner than they did in my generation.
Yeah,
I like that.
it's a lot different. It's a lot different, and
It is.
a lot of things that like really opened my eyes is like the passing of my grandma. You know, seeing her sick, and
Yeah.
I told my girlfriend like nothing ever scared me until seeing her just like getting sick. You know, just out of nowhere
Yeah.
because we didn't know she was sick. We didn't know there was anything wrong with her. I mean, it
Yeah.
simply started out with her saying, "I'm having a hard time," because COVID really, like you said, it slowed a lot of
Hmm.
things down, like ruined lives, and like
Oh
really,
yeah.
it
And killed a lot of people. You know.
exactly. But with my grandma, she was so independent because she was widowed for
Yeah.
like 40 years, and
Yeah.
she was so independent. And when COVID happened, I was like, "You're not going out to the stores, like."
Hmm.
I need you here, you know, like I need you
Yeah.
safe and healthy. And I was paying all of her bills, doing all of her shopping. And so
Yeah.
she wasn't mobile anymore. Like she would go to the senior centers and do, you know, volunteer work there herself and,
Hmm.
help out there cooking meals and stuff.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where she really slowed down. She just wasn't mobile. And then I just was getting calls for 2 weeks straight. Adam, I can't get out of my chair. And unfortunately, I
Oh.
live 45 minutes from where she was at.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'd be like, I need you to call 911 or call my
Yeah.
parents, have them come help you. And it just led to one thing after another. I mean, she went to a home and I know she didn't want
Yeah.
to, you know, and
Yeah. Such a transition when we get older,
yeah,
and it's weird
yeah,
because in other countries, the older you get, the more revered you get, the more
mm,
respect you get. Your
mm,
children, they understand your wisdom and your importance. But here in this country, it's different. It's
yeah,
like everybody's doing everything they can to keep from aging, and you almost become invisible, unless you that's why it's you have to have goals and life plans for yourself as you age, because sometimes you can't depend on family or friends or even the government or whatever
yeah,
to get you to where you want to be. You have to be resilient, and sometimes that's not even enough.
yeah.
It's it's uh it's a conundrum, as they say. Aging is not for sissies. Percy and I say that all the time. But thank God you were there for her,
Yeah.
because just having your number to call. Imagine a woman like your grandmother having no
Yeah.
one to call. That's
Yeah.
tragic. Yeah.
Yeah.
But God bless you. You're such a nice young man. I can't wait to meet you.
I
You're
appreciate
very
that.
nice. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Um, one last question on that I wanted to ask,
Mm-hmm.
because I know we're definitely over time a little bit. Um, being that LA is, I mean, they have a huge homeless population. I mean, we're
Oh, yeah.
talking Skid Row.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from that, like from AARP and the LA mission, you plan to serve obviously in those different communities from seniors to those experiencing homelessness. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, how do you plan to navigate and connect with those diverse groups through your volunteer work? Because it's going to be diverse groups. I mean,
Oh,
different
yeah.
backgrounds, different mind frames, and mindsets and stuff like that.
Well, I feel like one big part of connecting is listening,
Hmm.
because sometimes when you're homeless, you're invisible. People don't see you. I speak to everyone I come across on the sidewalk when I'm walking or whatever. I speak to them, and if they don't speak back, that's fine too, because I understand some people have things that they're dealing with and they may not want to speak. And I don't say, oh, well, what's your problem, or anything like that. I accept that moment and I just keep on moving. What I hope to do eventually is to be able to share the gospel with people, be able to speak with people. I used to volunteer with my church with the Skid Row ministry, and where we would go down and give them food and stuff like that. But it's more to it than just handing them the food. You have a conversation. You let them know that they matter. You tell them about God and how special they are, how important they are. And that, I kind of do that with my Instagram. I try to I use a lot of humor, but I also want people to understand how special they are, because depression is big these days, and anger and hate and all that stuff is so prevalent, in society today, that I feel like if a person would just give themselves a hug and stop and think about the fact that they woke up, that's the number one blessing. The fact that you woke up. And if you look around and you're getting out of a bed, and if you have 2 feet that hit the floor, and if you can walk into a kitchen and open the refrigerator and get your juice or make your coffee or something like that, all those things add up to being a blessing, because there are people without those things. And they seem simple, but they're huge to people that don't have them. You don't miss them until they're gone. And so if I had an opportunity to work directly with homeless people, I think I would, number one, listen and let them know how special they are, and that I see them and that I hear them. And maybe I could draw out something out of them where they could reconnect to that, because being homeless is a situation that is so different. Everyone has a different story. You don't know why. It could be mental. It could be mental health. It could be a physical issue, finances. It could be a whole lot of things. And sometimes people don't care. They don't want to even find out what's going on. And sometimes when you verbalize your life and what's going on with your life, you discover what it is that you need to do to correct your life. You have a conversation with yourself. You know the phrase, and then I came to myself, you know?
Yeah.
You come to yourself. You figure out what it is you're doing wrong. You're like, I done had 3 marriages and none of them work out. Oh, maybe it's me. It's like we just have to love ourselves. We have to have discussions with ourselves. We have to let God you come inside of us and make us realize the special. We all have gifts. You have a gift, podcasting, but you had people tell you that before you actually did it,
Yeah.
right? What if
Yeah.
you had said, nah, I, I'm more into crocheting, or something. But when people come and tell you something continuously, that's what they call a confirmation or affirmation or something like that. And you listen, and then you get into it, and you find out, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Listening, it's a lost art. It really is.
It is.
Truly.
Sometimes we
Yeah.
need to hear like that reassurance. We need to have, we have to have a second chance. Like for me, one
Yeah.
final story I'll share with you is
Hmm.
growing up, I never really had a whole lot of, support and guidance from my parents.
Hmm.
And it sucks. It sucks to say that, but it's the truth. And
Oh, yeah.
I ended up moving to Idaho after going through some things here back at home. And
Hmm.
I came back home. I landed a job at the airport, and
Wow.
so 2010, I met my best friend. He's really special, and unique, but his family took me in as their own. And
Wow.
they really gave me that second chance. Like they bought me a car and let me pay them back for it. And
Hmm.
it's just been like smooth sailing. I mean, they've always, that's been like my family there. And, I owe them the world, but I know I could
Um,
give back in ways that were given back to me. And so that, like,
hmm.
everything all just ties into everything we've talked about in this episode, from my grandma to my best friend and his family,
Yeah.
all the people that's been investing in me. And, yeah, I believe, in trying to give people, opportunities and things like that in
Yeah.
life. So
They shaped you because they
it's,
believed in you. You found fertile ground, because sometimes, unfortunately, parents are more like biological parents than they are like nurturing and that
mm,
type of thing. But then it may be a generational thing. It may be the way that they were raised. There's so many layers that some to peel back, and when you working with an onion, you getting tears. You know what I
yes.
mean? You're pulling back them layers, and the tears are coming, but you need them onions, and you keep going, and then that's it. It's like, dang.
Yeah.
But you were blessed. I'm so happy you were blessed and that you found a family that invested
Yeah.
in you. They poured into you, and probably added a couple of feet to you. You're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, baby.
I used to be a really big problem child, and I'm still
Uh-huh.
hard headed. I'm a Leo. I'm a true Leo.
My husband's a
And
Leo. I told him I
oh,
can
is he?
punch up. I'll punch up. Okay. Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a true
Yeah.
Leo, and I'm hard headed, but I am
Yep.
trying to get better with
Yep.
age and stuff like that. But when it comes to the end of the episode, I love to ask for a piece of advice. But we've talked about so much. There's been so much wisdom, just a lot of positive conversation tonight. I wanted to ask you if you're okay doing it. Would
Hmm.
you like to close out with some impromptu Andre's grandma or angry grandma?
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to. I won't
Perfect.
scream because I don't want to blow out your mic.
Yes.
I do one podcast. Oh, the mic's gone. Okay, you ready? You ready?
Yes, man.
Oh, I got some advice for you. Peel the banana before you bite it. That skin is tough.
I appreciate it so much. I appreciate it so much. It's oh man, it was great. It was great. I greatly appreciate you being on, and I can't wait to meet you officially in October. It's just going to be a
Yay.
blast. And
It's going to be a blast.
yes, well, you're more than welcome to be back on. Come after the con.
Oh, I'd love to.
I'll give you some time to process it all because it's going to be a lot, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to meet so many wonderful people.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be here before we know it.
Exactly. Time's flying.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What was your grandmother's name?
Her name was Barbara.
Oh, I like that.
Let me see.
Barbara.
Let me see.
Oh, I can see her. Oh, she's so cute. Look at that smile.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, hello to Fabiola. And I'm sure Barbara is very proud of you. And thank you for having me, Adam. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I just wanted to take a moment and thank the podcast sponsor, StreamYard. Without StreamYard, none of this would be possible. I also want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching this episode, whether you're streaming it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or watching on YouTube. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for many more episodes.